Hey, so now here we come, right? Michael Jordan is here. He's itching up there, but his story is still being written. So we have to see what happens. But the blame that he's got to take is the fact that DeRozan ended up in Chicago and not with the Lakers.
As if Magic Johnson returning to rub salt in the Los Angeles Lakers wounds wasn't enough, we got an additional report that is going to piss a lot of Lakers fans off. Well, I don't know, maybe it will. We're gonna have to wait and see. Personally, it actually bothers me because I feel like this individual is getting sabotaged. Now, before we get to the content, I started a Discord community. If you guys want to come in, talk mess to me, or just talk to me, you could click a link to my Discord in the description down below. It's open to everyone for now. On top of that, we're giving away $500 to a subscriber that turns on our notifications on this channel. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I don't know if you guys saw, but Magic Johnson went on Get Up yesterday and he had some very interesting things to say. The very first thing being the fact that LeBron James was the reason why the Lakers got Russell Westbrook over DeMar DeRozan and Buddy Hield.
Well, because DeRozan wanted to play for the Lakers, and when I got the call from his agent, I called the Lakers, said, hey, he wants to come home, and DeRozan could have been a Laker instead of a Bull. We could have made that deal, but when Russell and LeBron and them started talking, that's when they nixed that deal and went with Westbrook, and he became a Laker instead of DeRozan.
To some other stuff, including trading a superstar on our team not named Russell Westbrook, which we're gonna get to in just a second. Let's attack this piece of information first. I personally told you guys that my last video when the Lakers missed the play-in would be my final video on the Los Angeles Lakers, at least up until the offseason, but like a dumpster fire in the middle of the street, you just can't help but look, even though it's disgusting. And that's what the Los Angeles Lakers currently are. Now look, I have tremendous respect for Magic Johnson and what he says, but what he is saying here isn't necessarily a brand new narrative. It's something that we've all known for quite some time. Originally, the Lakers' plan A was Buddy Hield and DeMar DeRozan. They were going to trade Kyle Kuzma in order to get Buddy Hield. Kyle Kuzma was going to reunite with Luke Walton at the time, who was still the head coach of the Sacramento Kings. Buddy Hield would provide the Los Angeles Lakers with a go-to scorer and some shooting. And DeMar DeRozan, I'm going to be honest, at the time, I wasn't really excited about him, but he turned out to put together the best season of his career at the age of 32. Now, is this something that we were all predicting? No, of course not, but it is absolutely remarkable, and I feel like it would have meant even more so if he returned to his city and did it for his city, teaming up with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Doing so would have given the Los Angeles Lakers significantly more depth, and it would have also accomplished what LeBron James wanted to do, which is have stars that he could depend on for the times that he cannot play. And obviously what ended up happening is LeBron James got on the phone with Russell Westbrook, he decided to play general manager, and ultimately the Lakers opted to acquire Russell Westbrook instead, gave up 70% of their salary cap to the trio of Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Russell Westbrook, and as a result, they had to sign a lot of players on veteran minimum contracts, and Kendrick Nunn and Malik Monk, which at the time we were excited about. Who knows, maybe it could work, but obviously hindsight's 2020, and it did not work. Now, I will be honest, I do have an issue with Magic Johnson just getting up on national television and kicking the Lakers down when they're already low, because this is a man that jumped off the ship when they couldn't achieve the Anthony Davis trade. Yes, he is a Laker legend. Yes, he is actually responsible for the Lakers being relevant from the 80s to the 90s. I've been watching the brand new Lakers show, Winning Time: The Rise of the Los Angeles Lakers Dynasty on HBO Max. It makes you really appreciate what Magic's gone through, even though it's not 100% factually true. For the most part, it's very entertaining, and I have tremendous appreciation for what Magic Johnson was able to do for the Lakers, but I don't really agree with playing armchair general manager for a team that you were once the president of basketball operations for, and then you decided to step down for whatever reason. I'm assuming things just got way too difficult for him, and he had to make a lot of tough decisions, and some people don't don't have the stomach for that, but that's my own guess. Magic is a guy that likes to be liked, and when you're the president of basketball operations for a team, you might not be liked very much. You look at Rob Pelinka, and he's one of the most disliked executives in the entire NBA. Now, that's besides the point. Magic also says this bit about the Lakers needing to trade Anthony Davis.
AD, you got to change whatever it is. You got to stay healthy. Or the Lakers got to say, man, after next season, if you don't stay healthy, they got to look at you and say, maybe you should be somewhere else, because they need you on the court, not in your clothes sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
He's got to change some things. LeBron was great, had a great season, and then we got to change the role players.
So Magic says that Anthony Davis really needs to stay healthy, which I honestly don't understand the analysis there. It's like you have to try to stay healthy. I'm assuming that if these players had the opportunity to do so, they would be healthy. I don't think it's fair to look at an injury-prone player and say, dude, you got to stay healthy. I mean, it's kind of obvious. It's Anthony Davis's job to stay on the basketball court. I don't know if the Los Angeles Lakers would end up trading Anthony Davis at this point, mainly because his value is at an all-time low. You don't ever want to sell low on an individual. But when LeBron James is pulling the strings and is playing general manager and is doing a pretty horrific job playing general manager, anything is possible. But what I think bothers me the most about this entire situation, and that's aside from Magic Johnson, which I'm a tough critic of because Los Angeles Laker fan, love what Magic Johnson has done once again for our organization. But what bothers me the most about this is there was a rumor that came out today from a source that I actually really trust. And according to Jake Fisher via Bleacher Report, the Los Angeles Lakers are expected to part ways with coach Frank Vogel at season's end. Two names most often linked by league figures as potential replacements currently coach other teams, Quinn Snyder and Doc Rivers, more at Bleacher Report NBA. There are some very interesting names here. I personally don't think Quinn Snyder could coach LeBron James, not because he's not a good enough head coach for LeBron James, but LeBron James has a very linear basketball strategy. He likes playing 5 out and having his teammates either be 3-and-Ds or stretch big men. And that's about it. Quinn Snyder is a little bit more tactical with the way his offense is run. A lot of his players have even gone as far as to say that it's one of the most complicated offenses they've ever been a part of. So what I'm trying to envision here is what Quinn Snyder runs is a variation of what Greg Popovich would run back when Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Tim Duncan were a big three in San Antonio. And obviously it's been translated to fit the modern NBA a little bit better, and ultimately he's found a lot of success. This is despite having a dinosaur at the center position. Nothing against Rudy Gobert, but the reason why the Utah Jazz lost last year was primarily because Rudy Gobert wasn't capable of defending the perimeter. The other name in this is Doc Rivers, which for the life of me, I will never understand why Doc Rivers keeps getting coaching gigs. I mean, this man literally milks a 2008 Boston Celtics Big Three that won him only one championship, which in my opinion, it should have been more championships, into 14 years of head coaching gigs. Now, what bothers me the most about this is Frank Vogel is being scapegoated for a horrible situation that LeBron James created. And you know how LeBron James gets when it comes to picking his head coaches and trying to pick the individuals around him? It seems like, and this has been a rumor for quite some time, it seems like LeBron James is trying to push out Frank Vogel and try to get one of his own men. I don't really think either of these individuals, Doc Rivers or Quinn Snyder, would be the individuals that would coach the Los Angeles Lakers should they fire Frank Vogel. I feel like it's going to be a LeBron guy, like he's going to try to get Dave Fizdale to coach him or something like that. Now, I'm very skeptical about this article, and I'd hope that Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, which at the end of the day, those are the two making the decisions, would empathize with Frank Vogel and the fact that they literally gave this man a horrific roster to coach with. I mean, you had Anthony Davis, who was injured throughout the season, LeBron James, who was injured throughout the season, Russell Westbrook, whose confidence has been shot and is consistently getting ridiculed on the basketball court and away from the basketball court.
Westbrook! I said I'm a biggest fan! Westbrook!
What you call me?
Westbrook!
What?
Russell Westbrook!
Your biggest fan.
No.
Like that ain't Russell, you good. Russell, you good. No, you good. You good. I ain't no little kid. I know you're not a little kid. I ain't no little kid. All right, Russell.
I mean, who's your next best player? Malik Monk, he's having a good year, but you also have what? Carmelo Anthony, who's on the wrong side of 30. Dwight Howard, who's also on the wrong side of 30. You get DJ Augustine, Wenyen Gabriel. Like, what the hell is Frank Vogel supposed to do with this roster? You think this is a coaching issue? Don't get me wrong, Frank Vogel's rotations haven't always been the greatest, and I'm willing to admit that, but this man has like nothing to work with at this point. What is he supposed to do? I don't think there's any head coach in the NBA that would be able to fix the Los Angeles Lakers because fundamentally the construction of the roster is flawed. I would say 30% of the blame goes to LeBron James, 70% of the blame goes to Rob Pelinka, because at the end of the day, Rob Pelinka, you're the general manager. If your star player thinks it's better to have Russell Westbrook complimenting him as opposed to Buddy Hield and DeMar DeRozan, you need to be man enough to tell him no. And I feel like all Laker fans knew at the bottom of their hearts that this team wasn't going to succeed, but there was a part of us that were thinking, how on earth would a team that features LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Carmelo Anthony, and Russell Westbrook not succeed? And ultimately, this is how. Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't even get to the part where Russell Westbrook said that he wanted to run it back with the Los Angeles Lakers after officially being eliminated from playoff contention last night.
We want a chance to grow that number next season and see what this group could do with help.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan, but, nothing is promised. You kind of got to take one day at a time each day. And like I've said all season long, you got to play the cards you dealt. Yes, we want to be able to see what that looks like, what that entails over the course of it, 82-game season, but we're not sure if that's guaranteed either. So, I just hope that we have a chance to be able to do so in the future.
This sent NBA Twitter into a frenzy. And honestly, I wasn't really that surprised that he said this. Russell Westbrook cited the fact that the Los Angeles Lakers only played 21 games together this season, where LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook were all active. But here's the thing. In those 21 games, you know what the Los Angeles Lakers record was? 11-10. So you might be wondering, why on earth would Russell Westbrook want to run it back with this horrific Los Angeles Lakers team in a year where he got consistently heckled and booed by fans, in a year where he put up his worst statistics of his career? He is on pace for his lowest PER of his entire career. And just putting statistics aside, you don't necessarily need to be Steve Kerr or some basketball mastermind in order to understand that the big three of the Los Angeles Lakers fundamentally doesn't work. So why on earth would Russell Westbrook want to run it back? Well, if you pay attention to the contracts the Los Angeles Lakers currently have on the books, they have Anthony Davis for 2 more years and $78 million with an additional player option. They have LeBron James for 1 more year, and they have Russell Westbrook, who is on a $47.8 million player option. Now, what do you think Russell Westbrook is going to do in this instance? Do you think he is going to accept the $48 million and run it back with this horrific team, even though there's a good chance that they aren't going to be able to trade him? Or do you think Russell Westbrook is going to decline his player option and hit free agency after his worst season of his career? Yeah, I think he's probably going to take $48 million, which means the Los Angeles Lakers either need to figure out a way to trade Russell Westbrook, or they need to figure out some sort of salary cap gymnastics in order to make this team deeper with Russell Westbrook on the roster. Let me fill you in. That's very difficult to do when you don't have your top 10 draft pick this year, and 70% of your salary is allocated to 3 players that just played 21 games with one another last year. Needless to say, I don't think this is going to get any better. I wouldn't be shocked if Russell Westbrook comes back, but at the same time, I am more expecting that the Lakers just trade him for a horrific package that's beneath his market value from last year, just so they can get out of his contract and try to support LeBron James and Anthony Davis with stronger role players. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.